last night I was looking at some of your videos online, and the one video I was looking at that was at that 3-gun shoot, I had noticed that there was I understand where the political motivation was for some of the people that had these comments, but there seemed to be some pretty rude comments regarding a young lady like yourself being involved in firearms at such a young age, almost suggesting a sense of irresponsibility that your parents would let you be involved in firearms at such an early age. What's your response to that?
I think that as long as I can do it safely, that there isn't a lot of harm. And people who learn the correct way to handle firearms also learn a lot of responsibility and manners. These are not the type of people who grow up to be some mass shooters and go and shoot people. As someone who has been around firearms my whole life, I learned that how powerful they are and how much to respect them.
That's a great answer. And one thing I'm gonna mention that I'm sure the viewers have picked up on, I noticed that nearly every time we talk about responsibility and guns with you, you mention safety. The people that aren't gun users like ourselves, I don't think they realize how seriously we take the safety aspect of shooting. And obviously you feel the same way, because nearly every time you've answered something, you mention safety at some point. And I think that's important to stress. I think there's this misconception that those of us that have a love for guns and go to gun ranges or compete in competitions are just careless, and we walk around waving our gun in there and just firing at anything that moves. And I don't think they realize how critical of an element that safety is whenever we do go to the gun range or in your case, enter into a competition. So I'm excited to hear you mention safety every time we talk about that. And I can honestly say, again, for full disclosure, we didn't ask you to do that. That's encouraging for me to hear a young person like yourself who is so involved in firearms stress safety so much. I think that shows a sign of maturity, but also a sign of the fact that you are well educated and your dad has taught you properly. And I gave your dad kudos earlier through an email, but I mean that. I think that it's a parent's responsibility to make sure young people have that sense of safety and respect for a firearm, and clearly you have it. I've seen it in your videos.
Definitely. My dad, every time I go out to the range, he always makes me say the 4 golden rules of safety before I can actually start handling a gun.
That's awesome. That's great advice. In fact, that's good advice for a lot of parents out there that might be watching this who have a child that they want to get more involved in weapons. That's probably a pretty good little routine to get involved in. I like that approach. I know you've no doubt heard about a lot of the legislation that's going on in the after the Newtown, Connecticut shooting. The proposed legislation on banning certain types of weapons, assault weapons, quote unquote, and things like that. What's your opinion on banning weapons? And in fact, these are some of the same types of weapons that you actually use in the video. What's your opinion on banning those weapons?
I think it's completely against the Second Amendment, and it's pretty black and white to me because I just did an English paper over this, and we got to choose our topics, and I chose to write about this so that I could learn more about this.
Tell us a little bit about that paper you wrote.
It was about the assault weapons ban of 1994,
okay,
and how the crime rates during the ban actually went up, and then whenever the ban was lifted in 2004, that the crime rates went down.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you know, there's a lot of people that ignore those facts like that, Katie, and it's impressive to me that you picked up on that and you wrote a paper about it. Just curious, not knowing obviously what your stance of your teacher is, what was your teacher's response to that?
My teacher, she knows that I like guns and she knows that I like to go out and shoot, so she thought that it fit right into me.
If we ban certain types of weapons, whether it's 30-round magazines or quote-unquote assault-style weapons that they call them, do you, in your opinion, think that does anything for crime, reducing crime?
No, I don't. Criminals are going to find a way to harm people, whether they use knives, hammers, or anything else. It's not what you ban, it's the criminals that do it. It's that the guns don't kill people, criminals kill people.
Right, it's not the tool, it's the mind that makes the tool do what it's going to do.
Yes, exactly.